my name is Aubrey. I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm here to talk about my top 5 reads of 2025 so far. So specifically, these are my top 5 books from quarter 1, so January, February, and March. I've already read a lot of good books this year, so narrowing this list down was difficult, but I think I'm happy with my final stack and ranking, so let's just get to it. Coming in at number 5, I have Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and this is just a huge, epic sci-fi story. It's a little weird, it's a little philosophical, but for me, it was well worth it. Okay, so imagine Earth in the not so distant future when the environment is collapsing, politics have gotten increasingly divided and violent, there's war brewing and conflict, and just society as we know it is crumbling around the edges. An initiative is started with some new Earths, so some planets that we've discovered out in space that are similar enough to Earth. They have similar atmospheres and the potential for life. We are going to send capsules to these potential Earths. And these capsules contain everything you would need for the next Earth and the next human race. And so there's all kinds of DNA and biology, but there's also some advanced technology in there that is supposed to bind to DNA and help evolution on its way towards the next human race. And so we send a bunch of these capsules as well as a guardian over the new world. However, the one in particular that we are following goes wrong. And the monkey DNA that would have eventually evolved into human beings is damaged. And so when this new biology gets to its destination, it kind of has to improvise. And so instead of a race of monkeys and humans, we get a race of intelligent spiders. And so half of this book, we are following the evolution of spider society. We are following them as they are in their Neanderthal stage. We are following them as they develop into having more complex thought, more complex societies and social structures. We follow them as they develop certain religion and the kinds of advances that spiders would make versus humans, how they develop language and speak to one another. And then the second half of this novel, we are flashing way forward into the future. I want to say thousands of years, if not millions of years. We are following the last remaining humans as they are on a ship and they are looking for one of these worlds to call home because Earth is completely uninhabitable. And so it's the butting of heads of these two species, right? The last of the human race versus these spiders with intelligence and emotion who, certainly were a mistake. They were not intended, but even still they are there and they exist. And it's just really fascinating. It's very philosophical. It's having a lot of discussions about, humanity. What does it mean to be human? Evolution, society, our place in the universe. There's a lot in here about godhood and playing God in particular. It's a very good book. It's well written. The plot is really interesting as well as the characters. It's asking very interesting questions and it's really wrestling with some very interesting ideas. I really loved The Children of Time and I highly recommend it. Coming in at number 4, I have Spinning Silver by Naomi Novak. I have been meaning to read this for years and I finally got to it this year and I honestly can't believe that it took me this long. This was so up my alley. It was atmospheric, it was well written, it has perfect fairy tale vibes. This is loosely a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. So our main character Miriam is the daughter of a moneylender. However, her father is too soft-hearted to be a very good moneylender, and he can't really bring himself to ask for the money back that they are owed. Because of this, he has, inadvertently put his family in poverty. When Miriam's mother falls ill, Miriam decides that she's had enough and she takes up her father's job for him. So she starts making her way through the village and knocking on doors and asking for what people owe. If they don't have the money to pay them back, then they will pay back with grain or wool or labor or just anything that they have to offer. And very soon she earns the reputation of being able to turn silver into gold, which attracts the attention of a very powerful fairy lord. And the fairy lord gives her 3 impossible tasks. If she fails, she will die, but if she succeeds, then she's going to be married off to this fairy king. So that's kind of the setup. We're also following 2 other female characters. We're following a young girl in town with an abusive father who ends up going to work for Miriam. We're following another young woman who is being married off to the Tsar. And so there's just such excellent interweaving of these 3 stories with these 3 women. I absolutely loved all of them. I loved a lot of the side characters. I just loved everything about this. Truly, this feels like a book that was written for me. It is a bit slow paced, you know, it is very atmospheric and character driven, but I just loved every second of it. So yeah, Spinning Silver coming in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, I have We Used to Live Here by Marcus Klewer. This is one of the weirdest, scariest books I've ever read. In this, we are following Eve, who has just bought a new Victorian-style house, like in the middle of nowhere. And she has bought it with her partner, Charlie, in the hopes of flipping the house because they're both house flippers. So one day when Eve is home alone, she hears a knock at the door. And when she goes to answer it, there's this lovely little family outside, a man and his wife and their 3 beautiful children. And the man says, "Excuse me, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I used to live here, actually. This was my childhood home. And we were wondering if we could come in and take a quick look around." Eve is like, "You know, I really don't want to let these people in. This is super weird and inconvenient. And I have this nice evening planned with Charlie. I really, really don't feel like having these people in my house, but it's cold and there they are shivering and looking at me with their big sad eyes. So, okay, fine, you can come in and take a look around." Once these people are in her home, weird shit starts happening and they will not fucking leave. The youngest daughter ends up playing a game of spontaneous hide and seek, and she hides in the creepy ass basement downstairs, and the family seems completely unperturbed by this. Eve keeps catching the family members, the father in particular, just like doing creepy weird shit. Charlie is running late from coming home and the family keeps asking weird questions. It just starts to spiral. So, you know, we're either under the impression that like Eve herself is going mad, you know, because we found out that Eve is like maybe a little bit paranoid. She maybe jumps to conclusions, always thinking of like the worst case scenario, but also things just keep getting weirder and scarier and scarier. This is truly one of the scariest, most unsettling books I have ever read. It's also a very cryptic book. It is keeping a lot of its secrets close to its chest, but I don't know. All in all, just a wild time. If you want to be scared shitless and sleep with the light on for a month, read this book. Coming in at number 2, I have Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This is a historical horror novel in which we're following a young 15-year-old girl who gets pregnant and sent to a home for pregnant girls. At this home, she is expected to live out the rest of her pregnancy, deliver her baby at the hospital, and then give her baby up for adoption, all so that she can go back home and pretend like this never happened. Of course, there at the home, she meets a number of girls her own age going through the exact same thing. The circumstances of this are just truly awful. I would say that this is a historical horror where the historical elements are like much more horrifying than any of like the supernatural horror. The girls are all shunned, betrayed even by their family members. They are looked down upon, they are talked down to, they are lied to, they are gaslit, they are manipulated, they are treated like children, which they are, but at the same time, you know, they are like going through this very adult thing. They are given no agency, no freedom. They are told that they are sinful and shameful. What they have to endure from the adults around them, on top of like the body horror of like being pregnant and giving birth and having to go through something so violating to your sense of self. It's just a lot. It's a lot. It's so visceral. It's so harrowing. And because the girls are being treated this way and because they have absolutely no agency, no control, when a mysterious librarian offers them a book on witchcraft, promising to give them back a little bit of agency, a little bit of power, they greedily take it. But, you know, of course, witchcraft comes at a price. Yeah, I just loved this book. I loved all of the characters, like all the girls we meet, I adore. I just loved this journey. I loved this setting and this time period and this like zoomed in ugly look at something that like really happened. Apparently Grady Hendrix like did a bunch of research and interviewed women who like were at homes like this and their experiences there, you know? And so something that like typically we never hear about, something that gets swept under the rug, to have this light shown on it was just so compelling. Like, it's just such a compelling story, on top of it being well written and having such good characters. I just really, really loved this one. I've been thinking about it since I read it, and I think that I will continue to think about it for the rest of the year. Coming in at number 1, I have The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. This is another historical horror that I just absolutely loved. I just found everything about this book to be so incredible, top notch. This is set in 1950 in Jim Crow era Florida, and we are following 12-year-old Robbie, who ends up kicking the son of the largest landowner in town. As punishment, he is sentenced to 6 months at the Gracetown School for Boys, also known as the Reformatory. And although this is called a school, it is more like a prison. While the boys do attend some classes, they are also forced to do various kinds of labor, and if they break rules or misbehave, they're also subjugated to like a level of torture and punishment. Robbie, who has always had a little bit of a knack, you could say, for like seeing the supernatural, here at the Reformatory, he is haunted by all kinds of ghosts and haunts of countless dead boys who have their own horrific stories to tell. So this is about Robbie's journey in the Reformatory. This is about Robbie's oldest sister, who is trying her damnedest to get him out of the Reformatory. It's about the Jim Crow South and the societal structures that perpetuated this level of racism and violence, how suffocating and terrifying those environments were, and how it leached into just every part of society. It's about cycles of hate and violence, and how hate and violence poisons communities and leaves lasting scars. It's truly an incredible book. This is a nearly 600-page book that flew by. It is such an addicting, suspenseful, tense read. I don't know if I've ever been so worried about characters in my entire life. It's well written, it's well paced. Every character is well-rounded and very nuanced. A lot of the conversations, again, about race and racism are very nuanced conversations. There's so much depth here. There's so much heart. There's so much hope. I just think this is a phenomenal book. This is not only one of the best books I've read this year, this is one of the best books I've ever read. Period. And while this does have the horror label, and I don't think that horror is for everyone, this book in particular I would highly recommend to just about anyone. I feel like the horrific elements are mostly from the history, which is important to read and learn about and face, to remember that this wasn't that long ago. 1950 was just not that long ago in our history. It's phenomenal. What a knockout of a book. It gets a wholehearted round of applause, 5 stars. From me, for whatever that's worth. So those were my top 5 books from Q1. Please let me know what your favorite reads of the year have been so far. If you want to give me a top 5 list, I would love that. But if you just want to tell me like your very favorite read, that's okay too. If you were interested in my horror vlog where I read at least 2 of these books, I will leave that here. And if that doesn't interest you, then YouTube will recommend you something else right here. Please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope to see you next time. Bye!